stupid code on this thing. One, two, 246. Sorry, it's not
Okay, guys.
stupid. I'm dumb. Okay, is it already open? Okay. What is this? Oh.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. The special Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, March 6, 2019. Can we get roll call, please?
Commissioner Lamaika,
Present.
Commissioner Evans,
Present.
Commissioner Ross, Commissioner Dodson, Vice Chair Spalletta, Chair Owens.
Present.
For the record, we have a quorum.
Okay, a review of agenda items. If there are any items on the 72-hour post line, that is at this point in the meeting, but I don't believe we can do that on a special meeting, correct? So we'll just disregard that part of the public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the commission on matters within the jurisdiction of the city of Seaside but not on the agenda may do so during the public comment period for up to 3 minutes. Public comments on specific agenda. Sorry, people. Public comments on specific agenda items heard under that item. For the public record, please state your name. Anybody wishing to speak on any items that is not on the special meeting agenda may come forth and do so now. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is LaToya Allen. I'm with the Seaside Homeless Committee. And I have one question. I was referred by the city manager. I had a question in regards to parcels of land that the city owns. Do we have any available parcels that we could utilize possibly in the future for transitional housing? Are you aware of that? Is that a question that you all can answer?
No, we don't have information of which lands the city actually owns. The city could give you that, though, I'm sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Not the planning commission, but.
Okay. He referred me to you all, or he brought up the commission, so that's why I'm here to ask you all to see if you all had some insight on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Wouldn't it be an eventual thing that it would come before us, though? It could be.
If it's put on an agenda, but yeah,
I mean, once they look at a parcel.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, approval of minutes for the February 13th, 2019.
Chair, the minutes were finished just this morning. You have a copy on the dais. There is a copy for the public, and it has been updated in the packet earlier today.
Yeah, it should be a possibility if you're okay.
I'm not sure I understand the sentence. The project as initially over budget and the project scope was reduced. I don't understand that sentence.
Should have been is.
The project is? Are you
or
sure?
Was.
Okay,
Yeah, it should be was.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, now if you put the word was in there, yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I move to approve the minutes of February 13th.
Do I have a second?
All right, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none? Okay. We are to use permit application UP 1901, Larry Amos. Applicant is requesting the approval of use permit to allow the establishment sure how that vendor to cook
Itinerant
is-
vendor, that's the,
Okay. All right.
I'll get into the definition of that.
Okay. Staff?
Commission, this is a use permit application. This is, again, it's for an itinerant vendor, which basically is a food truck or any mobile food operation. And in the city zoning code, it does allow for, and the purpose of why we're here is it does allow for, on a private property, an itinerant vendor can establish with a use permit a permanent location to cook their food and sell their food, as opposed to having to be stopping and standing for 10 minutes or 15 minutes at one period of time. Currently, I'm advised that with the food trucks trending now as more of a trending use, that they will probably give somebody a little bit extra time if they've got a line of customers. But generally, you're intended to be there for probably, 15 minutes to a half hour in terms of how they sell their food in the city of Seaside. We have the PowerPoint. The property is, this is I have liquor store in the PowerPoint, but this is Oro Terrace Liquors. It's probably been there. I'm going back and trying to research that. It looked like it's probably been there since the highway existed, about in the late 50s, early 60s. The site is currently vacant in the back area of the undeveloped area of the site, which the applicant would use for this operation, and it's been that way since that building was constructed. So I don't really know, I couldn't recall any demolition of any structures on that back half of the liquor store lot. Zoning code does allow, with the use permit, a cooking, outdoor cooking for an itinerant vendor with the commission approval. And what will be going, primary aspects of that will be involved with this project will be a barbecue trailer, a grill that will be covered with a tent structure, and a bathroom facility. As per the health department, any food use that is cooking on a long-term basis at one location would have to have a bathroom facility within 200 feet. The trucks that are on Del Monte Boulevard in Monterey, they have built-in bathrooms to the back ends of those food trailers. So that's in terms of how they're able to comply with the bathroom requirement. I think also 2 of them will be on Del Monte, and then on Cass Street, they have others. But I'm just giving you an example of you may think, well, why don't they have bathrooms? But they have them built into their trucks now. Project site, again, it's sitting here at the corner of Fremont Boulevard and Playa Avenue. Here's an aerial photo that you can see the building is here. The building's approximately about 5,500 square feet. The front half of the property that has the liquor store and the asphalt parking lot is approximately 10,200, with the back area totaling 10,800. The barbecue area that we'll get into in the site plan is over on the far north end, will be 1,275 square feet, and the remaining area that would be within off the alley will be utilized for parking of 8 vehicles, and that's totaling 77,650 square feet. Here is a project site plan. What we've identified in blue, this would be a DG pedestrian pathway. We went over this with the building official in terms of how they would create a smooth transitional pathway that would have a 2% and 5% slope requirement per ADA, and that's required to be met from the sidewalk on Fremont Boulevard. So that would be where the pathway would be provided around to the back of the building, then along the side frontage here, where the trailer would be, the tent for the cooking area, and the bathroom facility. This is the parking lot area with access of a 24-foot wide drive aisle. That's the standard in our zoning code. The applicant's proposing to cordon off this area with metal posts with a chain that would be linked on the top. So this way, we're preventing cars from just driving in any which way and not having a kind of coordinated area where people would drive into, be able to come in, park, back out, and leave in a manner which doesn't cause any extra backing out movements. This is the property line for the project site. Here's the edge, and this is Playa Avenue. There currently is no curb gutter and sidewalk on Playa. which is why the applicant was required to provide the pedestrian pathway along the south side, along the back. The adjoining properties here, we have the Cost Plus Shopping Center, which is the back of the Wingstop building, and you have the vitamin store. We have the American Legion that's directly across the alley. There is a 25-unit motel, and then there's another motel on the opposite side, which is under the same ownership. And I think that one totals about 25 units as well. We'll get into this further. We have photos which will show that there's 8 units that back up to the site on this end of the property. There was one that has a window that's probably 4040. The rest of the units all have the 2010 bathroom window that's on the back. And so we'll talk about that on the noise aspects. There will be a generator that will be part of the use. Let me see what I have on my next slide here. Yes.
The pathway on the left-hand side of the building, is that next to the hotel, or?
That is next, the motel is sitting here, yes.
Is there any walkway there now?
There is no walkway, no. It would have to be installed for ADA access because you won't be able to come around here. There's no curb.
Is there a way to get from that without a pathway? I mean, is there a walk-through there now?
There is not. It would be installed as part of the project.
I guess I'm not understanding. So the two buildings are like this?
No, there is a about 20-foot setback in between these buildings.
Okay. I just was understanding.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Now they understand what you're saying.
I didn't know how you got back there like that. I thought they were close.
Are there any arrangements at present for various businesses around there, say the motel? Do you use that parking lot?
No,
So it's just empty?
just empty. Just as background, the only previous use of that parking lot was the BMW. As they were doing the remodel, they needed an area where to park their vehicles temporarily because their whole area was pretty much impacted by where they could park the storage of vehicles. And you may have saw that in the past. And one other dealer, Honda, used it temporarily. That's been the only other use of that rear property. And that was on a temporary basis only.
Doesn't it have fencing around it too at times?
It was for the BMW vehicles when they were parked on the site. So again, here on the aerial photo, we're showing the pedestrian pathway that would come around and then provide access. The trailer would be fronting onto Playa. Again, here's the tent, and then the bathroom facility would be located here, a portable bathroom. The applicant did park his truck there in the tent. So when I show you the photographs, he wasn't operating. He just went there and he parked the trailer, the tent, to show you in terms of real time what it looks like when it's on the premise. Likely what we would have here, we would not have any of the metal bollards that are going to be along the back alley. This area, we probably would allow the applicant to put up those orange stanchions that you see, kind of delineators, that would be separating. So that way, it just keeps separation of people not walking into the parking lot, that we have people walking in from a pattern, or they walk in and around through the site for safety. So we looked at this in terms of preventing people from just walking across and keeping people walking in a manner where they're walking into a central location and they're keeping in line with a coordinated way of accessing the site once they park. Here is a photograph of the front of the building of Ora Terrace Liquors. Here is the area on the side that where we would have the pedestrian pathway access to the back. Here is the view on the north side, but this is not an ADA compliant access. And then once you get at this point, there would not be access across that portion of what is kind of a gravel area that would not be graded, and that's in public right of way. Here you can see the trailer where it would be parked, and this is the service window. And here is the tent where the barbecue grill will be located underneath. the applicant's present, I will have him give you all the specifics in terms of how they operate this and how he's compliant with existing health certificate that he currently has with Monterey County Health Department. And then this is a view from Playa looking southeast. This is the alley intersection with the alley access point. Here's a view from the alley. These are the motel buildings that are backing up to the project site. Had a vehicle parked, so you can see in terms of how a vehicle will be parked inside the that dirt area, or which would be kind of we would have it graded so that it would not have any potholes, and it would have a kind of compacted surface with some DG perhaps, and the applicant can give specifics on that, on how they would maintain that. This is the trailer as you're looking from the motel, from the opposite side, looking this way. This is the back side of the trailer, and here's the back side of the tent. The applicant has a Honda generator that they would locate positioned here. We did conduct a noise analysis of the generator. It operates between 55 and 60 decibel. And we took that measurement walking a distance of 100 feet away, so that if you're at the back side of the motel, that's what would be the noise level.
65 decimals?
60 decibel.
That's very loud.
What's in the code is 55 decibel is normally acceptable, 65 decibel is conditionally acceptable. So it's not in the 70 decibel where that requires mitigation. But the board can still discuss with the applicant on how they can position the generator, what they can do to create any walls around it, like not a box, because it has to have some air circulation, but there could be methods that you could further reduce the sound level. One thing to keep in mind is that Playa and Fremont are our busiest auto corridors, so the daily noise in that area does add to, this is operation of this facility would be for the generator would be from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. The hours of operation where he comes and sets up will be at 7 a.m. and he'll begin serving food between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Isn't Playa the street that leads into
Leads into Costco.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the biggest pothole city that we have.
Yeah, it's got a lot of potholes. It's also got a ton of traffic. As it is.
Okay.
So one other aspect is when we looked at how there's no parking standard in the code. And when it comes to a use that's not listed, we have to use what kind of analysis or facts can we address. And we looked at an 8-space parking lot would be equivalent to a 1,600 square foot takeout restaurant. And the area where the service area would be for the site would be 1,200 square feet. So that's kind of how we were looking generally, how we would assess, because this would be takeout only. There's going to be no seating on site. So under the Water District rules, that the applicant has a commissary that's off-site, that this would not require any water allocation from the city of Seaside. That was one of the first things that we addressed with the Water District before we even got to the point of processing the use permit. So land use compatibility. Well, first of all, what I want to state is use permits are for those which by their nature require special consideration so that they may be located properly with respect to the objectives of the municipal code and with respect to their effects on surrounding properties. In order to achieve these purposes, the Planning Commission is empowered to approve, conditionally approve, or deny applications for use permits. So I just want to have on the public record that sets the tone. And these are some of the land use compatibility aspects that we did look at. We addressed the pedestrian access through the building official in terms of how we could provide a pathway which would have the required 2% slope. No, I'm sorry, it's 5% slope for any walkway with a 2% cross slope. Odors are one other aspect that we did look at. The trailer or the cooking operation is going to be within a smoker, and the applicant will be better served to give you more specifics on how it minimizes the smoke related to that. But it will be located on the opposite side of the lot, so it's located furthest away from the motel. And the use that would be most sensitive to be impacted would be the motel use. And most of primarily all the windows on that frontage are the bathroom windows, and they're typically closed. But again, we have the operations on the far side of the site. Noise, the biggest concern for noise, aside from possibly cars and doors that could be opening, closing, is gonna be the generator. And what we did, we went out to the site, the applicant operated it, we conducted it with a noise decibel reading, and we had between 55 and 60 decibel. We did indicate to the applicant that there may be other considerations that could be requested by the board, by the commission, to further reduce noise. Even though it could be at a 55 decibel, the commission may feel more comfortable that it can be reduced to the greatest extent possible. And that's something that the commission can further discuss with the applicant on what types of apparatus or screens could be placed in front or to the side of the generator to further reduce noise levels. Applicant can give you for more information as well on what the purpose of the generator is and how it functions within his operation of his trailer. Parking availability, again, we looked at the area. That was the maximum parking that we could provide, which provides for a perpendicular parking format where cars can come in, back out in a manner where they're not having to back out onto the alley, because that could cause not only issues for people to maneuver through the parking lot, but pedestrians that could be walking across. It's much better if you're going to be able to back out and visually see forward as you exit the facility. Trash enclosure. The current liquor store does not have a trash enclosure. They would be conditioned to require a trash enclosure to be built to accommodate not only the application for the itinerant vendor, but also for the liquor store itself. There's a nexus at this point for the applicant and the liquor store owner to be able to utilize that property. They should be able to also upgrade the property to accommodate the liquor store as well. In the staff report, there was some evidence that I kind of, and I'll go over really briefly here before the applicant comes forward, is that Public Works would want a tracker to be over the driveway that would kind of help with the flow of dirt from the tires. So that was one condition from Public Works. They also had all grease collection from cooking grill and trailer shall be disposed of within an on-site towel container. Trash enclosure shall be constructed, again, as I said, on site for both the business and the liquor store. Some of the evidence that we did look at, the location of the service area will be positioned on the opposite side from the motel use. And it will be in a manner that we have the area for the parking lot to be free and clear of any people accessing the front of the barbecue trailer. The trailer, as shown on the site photographs, is a professional trailer. We've been in the trailer. It's pretty immaculate in the cleanliness of it. But this is probably one of the more professional trailers that you're going to see around in terms of how it's constructed, its color, its painting, and the interior of the trailer. Vehicle access to the rear will be controlled by a driveway area, and we have the areas cordoned on the side to prevent cars from uncontrolled access to the site. The service area will be set back approximately 25 feet from the curb line on Playa. So it's set back so pedestrians will not be adjacent to the roadway where cars can travel at a high speed. With no on-site dining, the off-street parking area will provide sufficient parking for the use and will mitigate litter and food related to disposable waste issues if people were to dine on site. Trash enclosure will provide garbage and waste for both the business and the liquor store. And last point is that the vacant area within the primary is within a primary regional commercial area of the city. And absent the water meter issue, which is preventing us from being able to construct any new facilities or expand them at this time, this could be an adequate interim use because the liquor store owner has approached us wanting to do development opportunities on that property, but they're not able to obtain a water meter to add any additional, either would be mixed-use housing or any other commercial operation. It would be considered to be an expansion of use that would violate the cease and desist. So there is that aspect that's keeping us from being able to develop that property with any other building at this point. From a general plan standpoint, we did look at the policy which talks about the encourage or revitalize existing commercial areas, encourage consolidation of underperforming and underutilized commercial properties. City staff finds that this could be a unique area in terms of attracting visitors to the city that are coming to Costco or the Costco Center, that would have a food operation area that could be utilized on the property that's trending with the food truck type of related use, and we have an access point into the site that won't back up into a public right-of-way. So these are some of the consideration points that we looked at in addressing this with the applicant.
Did you also notify all the commercial businesses nearby about this?
Oh.
Did you have a chance for input?
We did 300-foot radius only. 300 foot.
And that includes the hotel and the places across the street on White?
That would have went probably just across the street, but in the 300-foot radius.
Does the restaurant get notified that's on LaSalle Street and Fremont?
That wouldn't go that far. The 300-foot radius and would probably, 300 feet is going to take you around about right here.
I have a question. The American Legion across the alley from that, they periodically barbecue outside. And I don't know if they do it for fundraisers or what, but how will that impact their use? And, I mean, wouldn't that be,
We don't look at competition. We look at basically how does the site fit to where it can accommodate a safe use on that property? Can it
I
fit within the
understand.
context of the property? So we're not, if there's a barbecue restaurant that opens up to another one, we don't have any say on that either. I mean, but that's in a building standpoint. But if it's here, we're looking at this in terms of how an itinerant vendor could fit on this property. And
oh, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that, I'm just saying because the American Legion, it's a veterans organization, and being a veteran, I would wonder, you know, if I'm a part of that group, how is this gonna affect what I do when I wanna do a meal that's cooked outside, brought in, or as to sell to other people? How is that gonna affect? I mean, has anybody talked to American Legion about what they do on their property?
City staff has not. We just send out the notices and expect a
Okay.
response from our notice.
Okay.
Leslie, could you bring up 14 of 37? It says 14 of 37, page 7 of 8, yeah. Thank you for these, because I could never read that up there. Yeah, keep going, it's that one with the scribble on it right there. Yeah, come on up. Okay, right on this page, Rick, it says, this project site is served by existing water, wastewater, and electrical infrastructure and facilities with adequate capacity to serve the proposed project. If they have electrical and water and stuff there, why are we even talking about a generator?
That's a boilerplate that I did not, that I just left in. That's a typical standard, and I was looking at it from the standpoint of what services the existing liquor store. This property would be.
Yeah, but it's making it look like this project can stand on its own and it should be taken out of here. It's false information, really. It's making us think that everything's sitting there and it can roll in and then roll out whenever, but definitely isn't, shouldn't be in there. And how long will this permit go for?
It would be Monday through Friday.
No, I mean, and it's, say as we develop Seaside, obviously we're not developing Seaside for this type of, we're looking for nice looking buildings and stuff, restaurants where they can do their stuff. So how does this affect, say, future building in this area? How long is this permit good for? What's the length of it? how can the city, if they want to develop and not see a trailer, and I'm sorry if I'm putting it bluntly, but it is a trailer, it's not a building, and then within our, we usually look at the building and stuff. Not to mention, well, I'll get into that later, but,
Use permits run with the land.
so it could be forever then. You could get,
Yes.
okay.
And you mentioned the competition, and I understand that, but what we're doing is we're kind of changing the rules, not changing the rules, but we're offering an exception to the rules, firstly, on how food trucks can serve food. And if I'm running a restaurant, a barbecue restaurant in town, and I see somebody go in there, and they're not paying rent on their building, maybe they're paying some money to the owner of the liquor store, but probably not as much. I feel like the rules are different. So, is there any consideration for those things?
Well, it would not be an exception because it's allowed with a use permit. So the use permit is what this body would consider granting.
Right.
And again, you can conditionally approve it or deny it.
Yeah, but you're also asking us to look outside the box, so once we look outside the box, we've got to look at every aspect of the box. Because you are proposing something that is definitely way outside the planning commission normality. Especially with your orange cone ideas and chains, to me, that would look god-awful.
You can condition it for other design aspects, so that could be conditionally approved by the board. That could come back to the planning commission at your request. It can go to the BAR for review and come back to the planning commission for ratification if that's what the commission's desire is.
And then I also concur with Commissioner here that I just sat at a restaurant where the lady's paying $11,000 a month rent for a restaurant in Seaside, and she's having a hard time making it. And obviously, each thing that we do takes away from some of our other restaurants, so we also need to look at certain things of how that's going to affect them, even if they're further than 300 feet away. But like I said, we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, I'm just nervous about this fact that you're saying okay, but yet we could be giving a lifetime deal, and then we're also setting a precedence in the city for every vacant lot that we don't have a meter on, that a taco truck, a barbecue place, anybody with the portable, well, we call them coaches, food coaches, but
Each site is independent. It has to look at in terms of how its accessibility is for ADA and vehicles.
yeah.
And this site, we felt, we wouldn't have, when we looked at this with the applicant, this was one site that had the ability to provide that access from that standpoint.
Yeah. Well, from your pictures, it just looks like a farmer's market, and it's going to be 7 days a week, you know, so obviously we've got a lot to think about here
I have a question.
for staff.
The walkway, who's building that? Is it the applicant or the city?
The property owner and the applicant will be responsible before they can get occupancy.
Okay. Any other questions for staff?
Yeah, I have one. It says right here, the property owner, business owner of Or Terrace Liquors is proposing to lease the rear undeveloped open space, so they don't own it.
No, he does not.
Okay.
And the owner of the liquor store is the owner of the property.
Rick, there's a sign out front that says for sale or lease, so I assume what's happening is this is gonna be a lease to the trailer operator. I'm sorry, I forgot the name. But is it still gonna be for sale?
I wouldn't know how the lease would be structured, if it's on a month-to-month or 1 year. That would be in terms of how he's given probably notice before but yeah, so an owner could always sell a property. But in terms of how they break their lease or how that lease is, I couldn't answer that.
Any other questions for staff?
You could, on a use permit, approve on a term basis that it's for a certain amount of time and then it can be renewed, in which case, you know,
That would be, unfortunately, our legal counsel's not here, and that would be one I would have to run by Mr. Freeman.
I'm just worried if we approve this and it's forever, until, that, if there's an uproar about it, we'll kind of stop. some way we could at least make it, for a shorter period of time, renewable, see how it goes?
Well, what the commission could do this evening, and I would have to validate the legality of that, would be to, if you were to adopt a 12-month timeframe on the use permit, and I would have to confirm with the city council, with the city attorney, that would be applicable. What could be used, looked at this differently, is that, unlike a building, this use permit has probably, whether it's, well, no, I don't know if it would be a special use permit. We don't have that term in our code. Basically, use permits in the definition of the zoning code run with the land. So I would not be able to answer that question without Don giving me some advice.
Right,
Well,
so,
the thing I was also thinking is, unlike a business where they have to put in a lot of stuff and do a lot of modifications that are upfront money, this has much less of that because it's all portable for the most part. So it would be less of a burden on the applicant than it would be for a regular building for the business to come in.
plus, if I recall right, the taxes change big times once a structure goes up on a building, and this being temporary, the taxes wouldn't change. So the city really doesn't make much off of this. It's not using its land wisely in the tax field to make the city more money. Obviously, like I said, there's a lot to think about here. This is something that we're opening up a can of worms that, I don't know, to me, there's a place for the vendors, obviously, but we also have to look at what our other renters that are paying around the seaside area for their restaurants. And I don't know, like it says, unless we can get Dawn here to tell us that we can do a year-by-year or a 6-month-by-6-month permit, I don't know, I'm just a little nervous about opening up this can.
Should be here, probably. I'm thinking, yeah,
I have another question.
okay. Yeah, so what we can do is hear from the applicant, since
Okay.
at this point, I think
Yeah, let's,
we may have exhausted myself. So we'll hear from the applicant, and then,
Hold on, I got another question.
yes.
Are we using any other vacant lots in the city for this type of purpose?
No, because we are not property owners of vacant lots, that the city could do this. So, but any other individual property owner, they have a vacant lot, they could propose it.
Are there any doing that?
There's none at this point, no.
So this is, okay, we have a lot to deal with.
Any more questions for
I just went under, did you investigate, as part of this whole proposal, did you investigate what the arrangements Monterey has with that carpet truck that parks out in front of the park there on Fremont, or down,
the one that never moves?
I've never been there late at night.
Oh,
Well,
it's there-
Monterey
it's
does
there.
have streets that they designate where they do, yeah, that stretch of Del Monte, because I asked the two vendors that usually park there, how the arrangement was, and they indicated that section of the city plus Cass Street is another, where they have all the offices for the doctors. They allow them to park there on a long-term basis.
Okay, and it's notable that those are areas where there aren't a lot of other commercial businesses around. When we're putting this, I wouldn't say it's right in the most commercial part of the city, but pretty close to it. That's another consideration.
We're just seeing, we see food trucks, you see them in magazines, on TV, and
Oh, yeah.
this is the first type of use, and it's not a food truck that is beaten up or looks really bad. This is a professional one that you, and the applicant will tell you, where he does his other operations throughout the Bay Area. So he can give you a further, so you can understand the quality of what his food service is.
Well, I don't doubt his quality of his food. I mean, that's not the question. But you gotta admit, it looks like a farmer's market. I mean, you see a white tent, you see everything temporary, basically. But look, if you have no other questions for staff, let's hear from the applicant.
the letter, just, I think you all read the
Yeah.
letter. And that was our letter in support, I believe, from the applicant provided us this morning.
Good evening, how you doing?
Good idea.
This,
Could you state your name, please?
name's Larry Amos.
Thank you.
What question would you like me to answer for you? I'll go however you'd like to go with it. That way I'm not over speaking.
Well, I would like to hear that, you know, you mentioned you have a history of doing this sort of thing around the area.
I do the good old days in Pacific Grove. In fact, they're getting ready to do a big write-up on me for this good old days, and they're gonna put it in their paper there. I worked out there at Coyote Clays, Morgan Hill. I do a lot of big fundraisers out there. Chris Kyle, American Sniper, I do the military fundraisers for him. Apple, Google, I do Duck Club, a lot of banquets. I have 3 weddings I have to do here in Deterra. I have a following of people. I work out here in Salinas on Saturdays, and I have people who come from Salinas or San Jose just to come and get my food. So I've been doing this for quite a while. I make all my own rubs, I make all my own spices, my sauces, everything. This is a trending that's going on, which I know you folks are aware of. My trailer, it's an $85,000 trailer. Even when the state inspected it, they were blown away by this trailer. They asked who designed it. I told them I designed it. And the first words out of his mouth is, "We got to find something wrong with this." You know, it's too nice of a trailer. I have a built-in barbecue inside the trailer. I have a hot box inside. The generator I have is a 13,000 watt Honda generator. I turn that on just before I start serving is what I would do. And that's to, heat up my hot box, my steam tables, things like that. That way I keep everything up to code, where they need to be, degrees wise, the whole 9 yards. As far as the outlay of where the trailer is going to be, you were talking about how it's going to look like a farmer's market. If you actually seen it set up, it does not look like a farmer's market by no means. The reason I have the tent over the barbecue is because for my own personal, I don't want birds flying by, I don't want people coming by and touching it or anything like that. If you want the tent to go, the tent can go. Personally, dealing with the public, I'd rather have the tent up, because that way it's cleaner. It's more sanitation. I don't know, I mean, I can go on and on with this thing.
Can I ask you one question?
Yes.
How come you don't look for like a rental restaurant or something that's filled with?
To be honest with you, I've managed restaurants. I've worked restaurants all my life. I've been on this peninsula for 50 years. I don't want it. I don't want the marriage. It's not a job, it's a marriage. I lost a relationship, behind it. I have 2 kids I don't see, It's just, you go do your 9 to 5, you get home, they call you, you gotta go back in. Here I can just go do my thing and deal with the public, be with the public, serve my food, pack up, I can leave. And it's, for me, it works for me. I mean, I have a lot of different restaurant owners who just flat out told me, "Larry, you have what we want. We'd hire you in a heartbeat." No disrespect, but my thing is, I don't speak Spanish. And if you're not bilingual and you're in the restaurant facility, you're not gonna get a job. And they flat out told me, if we hired you, we'd lose 4 of them because of your credentials. So it's easier for us just not to even put you in here and keep what we have. It's sad, but it's the truth, and everybody has a right to better their lives however they have to go about it. Me, this is what I do, this is what I enjoy. I've been cooking since I was 15 and a half years old. I've been in the restaurant business. Started out with Shabu Shake on the wharf, worked my way all the way up. I'm very clean. I know pretty much all the big hot shots out there at the health department. I speak with them frequently on things. They come and they talk to me, but I'm at farmers markets, things like that. They point at me and they get on me to help other people who's out there, you know. I take this very personal. You can go anywhere and eat, like you mentioned earlier, you know. You have a restaurant out there right now, but you're barely making it with my facility. But what would be the difference, sir, if I was to go and open up a restaurant? That person's going to have that same problem. Doesn't matter if it comes from my trailer or from a brick and mortar. It's the food. They can be the nicest people in the world. They can have the best staff in the world. But if you don't have your engine running correctly in the back of that kitchen, then yeah, you're going to lose it. Just like running a vehicle. You don't keep your engine up on your vehicle, you're going to lose your vehicle.
I have a question.
Yes.
With this trailer in this lot, what happens to you going to all the other places then?
What happens with me going to all the other places is on Saturdays, I'd stay in Salinas because
So
I'm
you
dedicated.
move your truck then? You would
Yes,
take your...
yes.
Okay.
And the comment that you made earlier with the veterans, I respect the veterans. My father's a veteran. If they have functions that's going on at the American Legion, out of due respect, let them have it. They earned it. They got it coming to them. I can use it for a day off, you know. I mean, there's many ways, for every negative, there's a positive. It's all on how you look at it.
To be honest, though, most of the stuff that happens at the veterans has nothing to do with the veterans. They let people use their parking lot for nonprofit use. So it is not we're not looking at veterans versus barbecue man. Just to let you know, it has.
I mean, I seen them doing, like you mentioned earlier, little, like garage sales or
Yeah.
car shows or things like that. But if it had something to do with the veterans themselves, by all means, out of due respect, I will pull. And I will let them do what they have to do. They earned it. They deserve it.
And
Yeah,
it looks like
go
you're,
ahead.
you're doing it from Monday to Friday.
Yes, sir.
I think earlier Rick mentioned that the food trucks, and they are food trucks that I've noticed on Del Monte and some of these other locations, that they have built-in restroom facilities. Did I hear that correctly?
Mhm.
So obviously your trailer must not, and I think one of the things that I'm struggling with is just the appearance, you know, the porta potty, the tent, which I understand you're putting it up for a good reason, but it's just that appearance on a unpaved lot. It just doesn't look,
See, we can take that porta potty and we can put it on any of one of the four corners. We can station that anywhere. It doesn't have to be out there where the public sees it as they're driving by on Playa or on Fremont.
but this is your trailer that you're moving around with your truck and you're towing it around places, so
Correct.
you're gonna have to have a porta potty there.
When I do, with what we're talking about now, yes. When I do my private parties, my private events, things like that, no, I don't need that. But to be where we want to station it right now in the city of Seaside, then yes, I have to have a porta potty and a hand washing unit.
Anything else for the applicant? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to open it up to public comment. Anybody wishing to speak on this item can come forth and do so now. Excuse me.
Good evening. Ms. Antoni. I've had his barbecue, it's great, so I'll start there, but I think a lot of the questions you're bringing up, I'm really glad to hear, because I saw this and it's like, geez, I know that the building owner has been interested, the liquor store owner has been interested for years to build up and to really redevelop that lot and hasn't been able to because of water. He and I had conversations when I was running about this. I really think we're not encouraging development and, you know, growth in our city by doing this sort of things. And I kind of hear from you too, that you're really concerned we're opening up, you know, a greater issue. There's so many lots. Go down Broadway. Is everybody going to end up just having a trailer and pitching something? So my first thought was definitely have short-term, you know, do, you know, 3 months or 6 months if you are going to do permitting at all, and I also feel for the businesses, and I think to some extent it'd be great to have a barbecue place down on Broadway. It'd be wonderful. I think you know, even the students and I think people around the community, and I really could see the effort for it. I'll argue another point to this, and I think it's really setting the precedence though for empty lots and for what are we trying to do as a city? You know, are we really creating the ambiance and the character we want and really encouraging development and investment? Or are we just, you know, going to allow people to come in short term or, you know, have more ability to mobility to some extent? What about a weekend food court down on Broadway? You know, trying to really create something there, or that lot on Fremont and Broadway, maybe on a night, trying to encourage, okay, let's bring in our food trucks, let's maybe create something. So this came out of this whole conversation for me, that's something that we could, as a city, potentially look at and trying to drive more interest and activity. But I am really concerned about just the appearance, which I've heard from all of you, and I'm grateful that you're having that. And it sounds like even there's some legal things that maybe need to be tabled. So thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to come forward? Seeing nobody else, we'll bring it back to commissioners. Public comment is closed. Start over here.
Yeah, because I know the American Legion's looking at developing their property. In fact, they have a developer, and they're still working that issue. Yeah, I mean, the only way I would approve this if it's on a temporary basis.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same place. I'm not totally against this sort of thing. I think it could work out nicely. There are some issues that have been brought up. And given that, I'm not comfortable doing this on a long-term basis initially, at least. So I can't support this unless it's on a shorter-term basis.
Could this project be done like the taco trucks on Del Monte and Monterey, rather than on a lot?
Then you're on the city street, and
We have a
probably
code.
have limitations already on our city streets. Fremont, I would have to assess how the width of the side of the shoulders are. The areas like in Del Monte, it's a very long thoroughfare. It's a much different environment or street than what you have on Fremont.
I understand.
So I'm just giving you, so that there would be some, but again, if we use the public street, that would be where the council would have to weigh in, and we have to do an ordinance. This is specifically for private property only, the way the code is written now.
I understand. I would like that looked at
Okay.
by legal.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that. Somebody should look at that. Personally, I like the food trucks, sporting events. I like them on the streets of Monterey. I'm just struggling with the trailer. I gotta confess, the trailer, the tent, the porta potty on an unfinished lot, it just doesn't look inviting to me as I look at it. I don't understand the DG path. I get the handicap, ADA issue, but all it would take is somebody repaving or, you know, regrading the parking lot that's existing now, sending something along the side of the building. You know, there's got to be other ways to do it so that it looks good, it looks professional, it looks like, yes, it's temporary because it's a trailer, it's a cool-looking trailer, but it just feels temporary. So I wouldn't even look at it on a temporary basis personally. I would want all those issues taken care of before I would even sign up for something temporary.
Yeah, this is a real tough one. One of my biggest things too is the 60 decibel generator that's going to run in order to facilitate this unit. Temporary power pole or something. I could see this as far, because I've lived in this city my whole life, and that parcel has looked the same for, I won't tell you how many years, but anyways, a long time. If we could get the city attorney to talk to us on this, might persuade me to go to short term, only because it is a land use. What benefit does this have to the city is my main thing too. I know that we're in need of a barbecue, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, they just keep closing though. But, yeah, I would like to, if we could, Mr. Medina?
Yes.
um,
I'm writing it down.
Okay. Talk to Don, see if we do 3, 6 month, whatever, just to see where we're at with that. But until we get these questions, I personally can't push forward either. I think you probably have a great, super clean, I don't doubt that a bit. But here at the Planning Commission, we're here to look at our land uses and look at them correctly of what they can be. Now, if it's a temporary thing, you might persuade me on this, but until I find out those answers, I can't give my approval behind this. So, with that,
Do we need a motion to table? What do we need?
yes, we would need a motion to table it until we talk to the attorney and then get back at the next,
I would think I can, just as something, a comment and question, but it's a 3 or 6 month, is to move to the 27th.
okay? So we need a motion that we will table this item till we get clarification from the city attorney, and then we'll continue it at a further date that staff gives us.
So moved.
You can have
No.
my question though, too.
You make that motion. I'm not making it.
Well, right now, though, that,
25 minutes.
it would not be able to, because that would be a complete ordinance. And the timeframe of what this application is, that would be way long-term, so we wouldn't do an ordinance. I mean, his application is for private property, so we have to stick to that. But we understand your comment, and that could be relayed to our council, that you may want to consider what streets that we could do this on, in which case it's open though, not only to him, it would be open to anybody who would be in a bidding process. Okay.
I will make a motion to table. Yeah, application number CDP 1901.
Oh, it should be UP, isn't it?
Go down CUP and.
I'm getting there. UP 1901.
Okay, UP 1901, until a future meeting.
Well, no, we would want to say specifically to a certain date.
Okay, the 27th of,
Yes.
With clarification,
yes, after, with discussion from the
it's UP 1901.
abilities to make this short-term use permit.
Do we have a second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. Okay. We're going to table it until
So,
we hear from the
one thing we can note, since there's been no action this evening, any appeal will not be made until the
Right.
commission.
That's why I didn't read that.
But they don't know that.
Okay.
And
Normally, if we voted against you, what we would state would be an appeal being submitted in writing within 7 calendar days from the date of this meeting. The appeal shall state the pertinent facts and the basis for the appeal and shall be accompanied by the required filings. We didn't vote on it. We just stalled it until the attorney tells us what is legal for us to do. So, you're breaking a milestone here, and I just hope that you understand. We want to look at every aspect before we. So, but it also isn't a no yet, so. Okay, next item. Is this the only item we had on tonight?
This is the last item.
Okay, what PDF is that next one? 1323 or 06? Yeah, I'm clear at the bottom. Yeah, see, I'm not getting that. Down below this? This one right there? Yep. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I thought you were here for the barbecue. So, okay. Me too. Okay, we're going to go to use permit application UP 1902, Stephen John Cardinelli, property owners, applicant and Brian Roberts, applicant, are requesting use permit approval to convert an existing vehicle storage lot into a vehicle storage lot for a tow service. Hear from staff.
The project site, it's located on 446 Palm Avenue. There was a use permit that was granted in 1999, and that was to Yellow Cab. They used it as a towing, as a parking lot for taxis. In the currently, the land use is a legal non-conforming use based on the adoption of the West Broadway Urban Village Plan, which has that area as medium-density residential. I do have some maps that will show of the West Broadway area so we can see in terms of what the existing land uses are in that area. There's currently a mixture of what different things are on that block of Palm Avenue currently. It's not entirely all residential. And again, in the zoning code, you're allowed to look at this in terms of a non-conforming use can change to another non-conforming use that is similar or more restricted in nature. And in this case, we're finding that the storage of vehicles could be considered to be a similar nature from what was taxi versus the tow yard. We have conditions also that we'll go into further, so let me complete the background. So we have 1999 storage of taxis under a use permit. The site has been now rezoned to medium density residential in the West Broadway Urban Village Plan, and a use permit would allow for the change of the non-conforming use from the taxi to the tow service. Here is the property that is sitting on the south side of Palm Avenue, and this is between Contra Costa and Imperial. I believe that's Imperial, right, Brian? Yes. It's a street I seldom use. But here on the aerial photo, we can see that there is a single-family house that's on a large lot, probably, I think it's about a 10,000 square foot lot on the corner. Here we have a house. This is a warehouse building that is being used for an ironworks. This is the Acme Coffee is on the other side of a building, and this is a parking lot that Acme Coffee uses. Here we have a multifamily apartments. This is a beauty salon use that's in a building here. There is a mixed-use building with a Victorian house with offices. Further down the road, we have older apartments and a restaurant in the front. Here we have the bicycle shop, and now this building, which was the Hope Services, has now been used for a carpet caravan. No, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you. So that's carpet caravan. So this is, and then further to the, I guess that's to the north or west, we have the abandoned Seaside Market. So it's basically, so what we looked at, where's my next slide here? So this is a project site plan that was submitted as part of the taxi cab use. The applicant would be proposing to utilize these spaces to park their vehicles. We have conditions that would require that any of the tow service vehicles that are on site would have to be parked in the site. They could not be parked on the street. And Mr. Roberts will get into more specifics of that. And I'm probably going to try to get out of his way here in a second. There is an office building on the property, which he'll explain is required for him to have a tow yard. It has to have an office with a bathroom facility, which is available. There is a ramp that can be installed here, but provides them for the ADA access. And then, again, there's no specific parking standard for a tow service. So we did look at reasonably, we should have one handicap disabled space, which is required by law, and there's an additional space. So if there's anybody from the public wishing to access the site, there's the ability for them to use this driveway and access 2 parking spaces. There are 2 driveways on the premise, one that is on the east side and then one in the middle of the property. West side, thank you. Here I have a photo. This is a photo taken, a view from Palm Avenue looking to the east, and this is a view from Palm Avenue looking to the west. One thing, this is from Google, so you're seeing a little bit higher than what you would be on the street. This is what basically, if you're walking on the street or in a vehicle, you're going to see pretty much that fence blocking the area behind it. I just realized when I took the Google image that it's coming from that camera that's on top of that truck. or that car. Land use compatibilities that we looked at pedestrian access, noise, hours of operation, there's parking availability, restriction of the tow vehicles to be not on the public right-of-way, restricting severely damaged vehicles that could come to the facility. Currently the applicant is on Santa Barbara Street, and he is lost his lease on that facility. That's where he's currently operating in the city of Seaside. So this site, be it not the size that they want, they're looking for something that they can move into at this point, so they find probably, and the applicant can explain this to you further. What we did explain to him is that based on the noise factor, that we had a restriction of use of the facility between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., and that's under the city's noise standards. So there would not be any ability to access. They would have to keep the vehicles on their truck, or they'd have to have another facility that they would have to offload the vehicles to. Again, parking availability, we looked at restricting the tow trucks from being on the street along Palm Avenue. That during the day, that does become a restricted area where people are able to park in that area. And it's not the compatibility of these trucks being on a public street. We find that it should be limited to the interior of the site per the original conditions of the use permit for the taxis. We looked at not allowing severely damaged vehicles being brought to the site because we feel that the site is not sufficiently capable of bringing in any wrecked vehicles that are mangled, that not be able to fit into a parking space that we have outlined on the site plan. And we also have a requirement to upgrade the front yard fence. Currently, that's just a dog-eared fence along the front, and there can probably be some type of decorative fencing that can be built. 8 feet might be tall, be out of character for that neighborhood, but a 7-foot fence probably can be something that can be a little bit taller, and it can be built with some type of lattice screening or decorative. You can have a 6-foot fence with a 1-foot decorative type of screen that can be built on top of it, so it looks something that fits into a neighborhood and also upgrades from what we have currently.
Rick, I'm looking at this, it looks like there's an alley behind it, would the trucks be coming in the alley?
No.
Or would it be a mall?
They would be a palm only. So here is the outline of the West Broadway. Fremont Boulevard's probably a little bit over here. So it's covering Broadway Avenue to the Palm, and it's both sides. So it doesn't cover anywhere on Elm. And this property is situated about right, I think it'd be right here. So this is the area of the project site. Again, it's on the border of the West Broadway Urban Village. Darn it. And I kind of went over the land uses that are in that area. So currently, there is no new development. All the existing land uses in that area have probably been in that condition for probably at least 30 plus years. There's been nothing really new that's been built. The one thing that did get built or was remodeled was that Victorian house that got converted with residences above and offices below, but that was probably around 1988, and that was the last project done there. 300-foot radius is we've notified. So that would have covered the homeowner on the corner, plus any of the apartments or any of the land uses that are on Elm Avenue to the, to the north, to the south.
Staff,
Yes,
the 7-foot fence you're talking, is that the one that's going to be on Palm?
it'd be on Palm. 6 foot is what the fence is now. 6 foot is what would be consistent with the use permit that was there if we were to replace it. But staff finds that there needs to be a replacement of that fence if we're to move forward with the use that goes that goes behind that facility. The fences could be improved, and it's part of a policy of the West Broadway Urban Village Plan that we have think that is respectable.
No,
And
I'm
we-
all for that, but
Okay.
I just think 7 foot's too high.
Okay.
I think that we look at that, I think we should just,
Isn't our code 6 foot?
yes.
8 foot is allowed with commercial, subject to, use permit consideration.
But
But
for
in this case,
residential, which this is residential, yeah?
the only one residential property on the block is the
Okay.
house that faces to Contra Costa. The side yard of the property, no, I'm sorry, I could be mistaken. It's just that there's a lot of landscape around that building, and I think the access to that house does come from Palm.
But this property would be considered commercial
Commercial,
therefore.
yes.
But it's zone residential.
It is currently zoned residential, but it's legal non-conforming in terms of the use permit that was granted. And it's commission's consideration as to whether or not, with conditions that we've provided or to be considered as part of the approval would be sufficient to keep it to a low, because this is only going to be 15 vehicles. It's not anywhere near what he probably would, and he can explain to you what his business operation is and how this fits into his model for how he accommodates Seaside. Because currently there are only 2 tow services in Seaside, and currently the Seaside Police Department have a call list, and he can probably give you specifics about businesses that are in Salinas that do not take the calls, that do not come this far to the peninsula to pick up vehicles. So there is an aspect of how this service does provide a service to the city in removing abandoned vehicles that are on city streets. And I'll let him speak to you on that. Just to finish off, just give you the zoning for West Broadway, just so that you saw the aerial photo. You can see that this side of Palm Avenue is considered to be high-density residential. The blue is the mixed-use commercial areas of West Broadway, and then the area periphery on the south side of Palm Avenue is what's medium density.
Okay.
And land use policies from the general plan, what I did pull out is that there's goal LU4 and policy LU 4.1, which speaks to how we can allow a development which in this case is going to be compatible with surrounding uses to the site and available infrastructure. City staff, we did not provide a resolution in your packet this evening. We felt that this is again, we haven't done a proposal where we've taken a use permit for you that's a legal non-conforming use, changing it to another since I've been here, and that's been quite a while. So I think this is the first time we've done this, so we want to get feedback from the commission and help with our evidence if you're going to move forward with granting the ability to park the vehicles there.
Very good. Any questions for staff, commissioners? No? Okay, thank you. We'll hear from applicant.
Good evening. My name is Brian Roberts. I'm the owner of Madison and Beers Towing, and I'm the one that's requesting at least a temporary use of this property. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
The way that this lot's situated, how come you guys don't have a drive-through that goes out one and out into the other? Just curious.
Well, using the alleyway would probably be a tighter turn.
Right. I'm just looking for backup bells, stuff like that that might disturb.
We can turn the backup beepers off.
Oh, nice. No,
But my truck that I personally drive is very quiet. Doesn't even sound like a diesel. 2 flatbeds that I do use are a little bit noisier. We can stop using those after a certain time. The biggest problem is having a place to move my business until we can find a better location.
Gotcha. Commissioners?
How many cars do you normally, in your current location or the current location you had before, how many cars would you normally store?
I usually get, well, on an average, it's about 45 to 60 cars.
So, I want to say, what, 15?
15 to 20.
Yeah. So, how long do you anticipate using this yard for that purpose before you can find something else?
Well, yeah, we're trying to push the rezoning of the backside of Fort Ord and stuff like that for maybe they can open something up for us to, utilize at a, to be a better location.
My point is you could be there a long time with just 15 cars.
Well, yeah, the cars get processed in and out, yes.
Okay.
The main cars that are going to go here, are they more like repo?
Well, they're like abandoned vehicles that the city has to have removed from the streets, private property owners, people that own property the car's been abandoned on, stuff like that.
And if they're dripping anything, you guys put something underneath them?
Yes,
Since
we
this is
have-
kind of a residential area, that would be my only fear.
We have drip pans and stuff like that. I have bigger pans for catching gas and oils and stuff like that.
Okay.
I try to run a, you know, a pretty clean yard,
You guys have been around a long time.
since 1968,
Yeah.
so.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have one. Currently, how long does a vehicle stay on your property?
If it's a private property, it takes about 32 days for it to clear. If it's a accident, we wait for the insurance to come in, stuff like that. Most of the time, cars are in and out within, 7 days. If it's an abandoned vehicle, well, that's what I should have said. If it's an abandoned vehicle, it could be 32 days. If it's a private property, usually they get picked up within 24 hours. So,
Very good. Anything else for me? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna open this.
I'm sorry, just for Brian's sake, what does the police want you to have, what we need in terms of the distance?
TSA guidelines state that city enforcement, law enforcement and stuff like that, are to use tow yards that are within 5 miles of the city. That's not my rules, that's their rules. So if we keep getting pushed farther and farther out, the police department's gonna have to wait longer for a rotation, like last Tuesday, I think it was. I think it was Tuesday. They had to wait 45 minutes for a tow truck to come from Salinas. It's not that they couldn't use one closer, it's that it's on a rotation basis. So every company that's on city rotation gets a chance for, whether it's an accident, or a drunk driver, or something like that. Well, the company they called came from Salinas. It took them probably about 49 minutes to get to and the officer had to sit there and wait. And to me, it's more or less officer safety, get the road clear, and not only that, people like to slow down, cause more traffic problems and stuff like that on accidents, and, so it's actually safer for pedestrians and everything when you have tow companies that can respond faster and,
Give her the looky-loop.
yes.
I have a question, not related to the use. How many drivers do you have for the trucks?
Right now, I have myself, one of my dispatchers, and a part-time driver.
Thank you.
I have one more question. How much business do you get from Seaside PD?
It varies. We can get anywhere from 3 to 5 calls in a week. We can get 10 calls in a week. It depends. A lot of times, it depends on the situation. 2 o'clock in the morning, there's a lot of companies over in Salinas that won't even respond. So they call me directly, But, I mean, and the other thing I want to add is, the other companies, they run scanners, so they listen to the rotation, they listen to the call that goes out, they listen that it's abandoned vehicle or a motor home or a trailer or a boat, and they know they're not going to make anything off of that. I have towed motorhomes for the city, totally got rid of them, like the one that burned down by the Ford Motor Company. I got rid of that, no cost to the city. I've got trailers that I've gotten rid of for them, motorhomes that I've gotten rid of them for them, and no cost to the city. I tow all the city police vehicles. I do make a tag because I want to keep record of it, but I don't charge them. Police cars, flat tires, anything that the city vehicles need, I try to do for them. A lot of times they do go out of rotation, and the other companies I know, they do charge them. So I think I'd be to keep me going in Seaside would be aspect for the city.
Anything else, Commissioner? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to open this up to public comment. Anybody wishing to speak on this matter can come forth and do so now.
Thank you. Ms. Antoni. since I'm here. I look forward to seeing more cars towed. We certainly have plenty of them for you to tow. So, and my concern is if it's only 15 or 20 cars in this lot, you know, I think, I'm glad to hear that, you know, you're interested in forward order and outspace for more. I just, you know, the city has a lot more than, you know, I mean, hundreds of cars on the roads that I see that could be towed, that haven't been moved, haven't been used, things of that nature. So look forward to seeing more with that. And my only concern with this is since it's a residential area, just, I hope it's not grandfathered forever and there could be some time limit around how long it's in place for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do for the city as well.
Anybody else wishing to speak on public comment? Please state your name.
My name's Tony Reed. I'm the office manager for Madison and Beers.
Oh, you're the dispatcher.
No,
Oh.
she's the dispatcher. I do some too, but not a lot. I've worked with Brian for 6 years now, and I have never met a more ethical businessman other than my husband, who owns Antique Auto Restoration. We use Brian exclusively for all of his customers, his clients, the exotic cars and such. We have worked with the city for almost 50 years. And one of the things that is most important is accessibility to us and for us to you. And this spot is going to be temporary, but we dearly need you to, as a body, to figure out a way for us to stay within the city, you know, and adhere to your codes, but be able to keep maybe not quite the size, but bigger than what we're looking at now. You know, there needs to be a medium in between. We do not control the cars that we're called to get, be the accidents, theft recoveries, and sometimes just abandoned on the freeway. The severity of what we pick up is unknowable. And so there are times when there's some rollovers that'll show up, but Brian is, if you have ever visited or driven down by our yard, Brian is an absolute master at fitting cars, no matter their condition, that far from each other, door handle to door handle, you know, and he's a master at it. So the other issue that I wanted to bring up is your requirement of a handicapped parking spot. I've been with him for 6 years. I've had one wheelchair show up, and requirement of a handicapped spot inside the perimeters of the fencing is outside the TSA secure parameters for our maintaining our standing with CHP and with the police departments and our own security. So the house that sits on the property that has the driveway up to it is already handicap accessible. It has a ramp. Please keep that in mind with how we configure what we're doing. It's a really long driveway up to the house. There's no garage there. So, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak on public comment? Sure.
Not to bore you guys. This is a temporary situation because we do need to get a property that's actually adequate to where we can fit more vehicles and stuff like that. Plus I have to downsize because of this movement. So I have to get rid of equipment that I've accumulated over the years and stuff like that. So,
You had to move because of the the new business going in where you were at, right?
From what I understand, they want to put in a welding fabrication shop there. So, I don't know. What it boils down to is more money.
Yeah. So, I feel for you.
Okay,
Very
thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing nobody else from public okay. We will close public comment, bring it back to commissioners, start at this end. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted, only thing I want to add is that if deliberation, we do need to bring it back for resolution. So that meeting could be the 13th.
Resolution for, even if we find for the, or the
Either or.
applicant?
Either or, that way I have
So
conditions.
we don't
and-
read the appeal statement, we wait until everything comes through on the 13th then?
Yes.
Okay.
But just saying that, we could turn that resolution around for you, and that you can adopt that on the 13th.
Of March?
You're talking next week, right?
Yes, that's the regular meeting.
Rick, I did have a question on the handicap. I thought that was an interesting point. I assume there's some sort of state reg involved?
Yes, and it can be not only for customers, but employees. So that is a standard that you could be sued if you're not providing the ADA spaces, and we have been, 5 businesses on Fremont Boulevard in the past year and a half have been sued for ADA accessibility issues.
Well, we know there are people out there that
So-
are actually looking for these spaces.
That's very true.
I would move forward.
Okay.
I have a question. Commercial use on Broadway up by the hair company? There's land up there?
That property is successor agency, and that has to be sold per the state. That's not something the city can develop. It has to be sold to a private source, and the successor agency must approve the sale. There's already council's already gone through the process. They've selected, there's currently a developer that they have approved a development proposal for. Has to come forward to the city still for water issues is kind of holding it up, but that property would not be available.
I have another question. Down from that, right across from the post office, that liquor store, what's going on with that property? That it's closed?
Let's do that after this.
I know, I'm just saying, I'm
yeah.
thinking of, well, they said
The-
to look at the,
The liquor store has been purchased. That owner, why he's not come forward to do his development permit, but he has a permit to, I mean,
Whatever.
we gave him authorization to enclose the storage area that was open air so that has been purchased, and our understanding is that will be established as a liquor store.
that's all I'm doing, is trying to think of pieces of property that are available, that might be available.
One problem, though, is that this is unique, that it has an existing permit for a use permit. These others do not, and they're illegal. Those are non-conforming. So you couldn't establish a non-conforming use on a property that is not zoned for vehicle storage. This has the convenience of having a permit that we could squeeze in because we have a former permit that's similar to what he's doing.
I'm not disagreeing with that. They're saying it's temporary because they need to find their own place in the future. So that's the only reason I'm asking the question I'm asking. I understand. I'm all for
Yeah,
them being in
no,
that
so
temporary spot.
now that I looked in, I'm thinking of a zoning standpoint. We couldn't
Yeah.
even start with a vehicle storage because the zoning doesn't allow it to begin with. But here, because we got one approved prior to the zone change that happened with West Broadway, it allows the commission the flexibility to grant any other similar use.
Okay, so is there any other area that could be zoned for this in the future?
The only area we currently have is on the west side of Del Monte, which is the heavy commercial automotive.
Between Tesla and GM is a big empty lot.
That's Cal-Am, they own that. That's a Cal-Am abandoned well site, but they can always contact Cal-Am to see if they would let them, because the Cal-Am only needs that back corner where the well site is located.
That's the only reason I'm asking. I'm for them being in their temporary spot. I'm just thinking,
But
where are we gonna put them? I don't wanna lose them.
But outside of but those are longer term in terms of having to do a proposal. So today, for them to get in and be in business come April, this would be the site that you'd have to,
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I understand what they're saying. They're saying it's temporary. So I'm thinking, yes, for the temporary spot, but where's the zoning available for them to go after when they look for that? That's all I'm asking. Okay, thank you.
Well, I'll be short and sweet. I definitely am for anything to help you guys out in the short term here, and I see no issue with going from one non-conforming use to another in this lot. And I hope a longer-term solution does arise, and the city can maybe help you in that way.
Yeah, I concur.
Same here. I think that you're an asset to the city, and I think that we should do everything we can to come up with an area that's going to accommodate. But with that said,
I
I
just
would-
have some conditions I wanted to ask if the
Okay.
direct, I think I can take your you vote first, and then we can talk about some conditions.
okay, one of the conditions is I'd like to, I agree with putting the new fence in, but I'd like to see it stay at 6 foot. It is a residential area. It doesn't look like the cars need much more than the 6-foot fence anyways, not to mention the cost, when we're not supposed to look at cost, but it just doesn't fit with the other fences in there, so I think a 6-foot would be fine without the extra 7-foot, whatever. And like I said, I think that, if we can come up with properties that are zoned or can be zoned for this, obviously, the dead cars aren't going anywhere, so they just keep adding, so we definitely.
Is there any question on the hours that we specified, the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.?
No, and in fact, I would take that from 7 to 9,
Okay.
you know,
Well, I mean, and I'll write that down and subject to, and what you may, through the clerk, since we're on conditions, they can give me general direction, I think, without voting. And then but I can get consensus that you're in
yeah,
agreement.
I mean, you've got a taco store and a beauty salon right next to it, and I don't think you're gonna disturb anybody by coming in and quietly setting a car down and leaving again, so.
Is there any any concern with severely wrecked vehicles? If they can fit in a parking
He
space?
seems to have the pans, the drip, and that's my fear with a wrecked vehicle. It's behind a fence, we can't see it, it's not polluting the ground, because he's got something underneath it, so as long as they do that, I see no problem
All right,
with it.
take that off. The trucks, parking, but
No, I
keep
like
them
that
off,
idea.
keep them off the street?
I drive up LaSalle every night, I try to get out of Rod and Ross's, and there is a wrecker that parks there, and he parks his butt in the red zone. And you cannot get around the thing. You have to wait until there's no cars there, and there's always a car there back because of the stay clear, and you can't make the radius out of Rod and Ross to go up LaSalle.
No
with
trucks
that
on
truck
street,
sitting there.
no new fence. I think that might have covered it. That's what I
Okay.
can think of, I think that I had from the comments I had in the staff report.
Very good, so we will take a motion now. We can pass it, but we won't
The
finalize it
direction-
until the
Yeah, your
13th.
motion would be for city staff to implement the conditions that we discussed and to bring a resolution with findings and evidence for approval
On
for
the
March
13th.
13th.
Okay, so, anybody feels that they can do that? Let's step forward and do it now.
You can make the motion.
Yes.
Okay, I move that we have city staff move forward in creating terms and conditions for a new non-conforming use for that property and to be brought back to this council next Wednesday, March 13th.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we'll see you on the 13th. Okay, next item on the agenda here is, Thank you. You're very welcome. Is, Commissioner's report. Nothing from commissioners? Yeah. Okay, staff report.
Yeah, speaking of potholes, this came up earlier. That stretch, was it Ply?
Yes. Worst stretch of Seaside.
That is like, bumped out at part of Iraq.
Good.
I mean, it's just like,
You
I
guys
don't-
make my Panda Express go to the floor. When I
is
come
there any
across
way
there,
that
goes-
could be? Okay, good, good.
Is that, now, I have a quick question for you. Rehabilitation, does that mean seal coat, or they're actually gonna refinish that road? Yeah. I would like to make a note to, Yosemite's the busiest street in the city as far as residential. I've got two giant holes at both ends of my street after the rain. And if they could come take a look, like I said, Ord Grove LaSalle, at both ends, they came in and put a patch on one, but 20 feet up the street, here's another big one, but then you get down to the other end where they just repaved for that Cal-Am water line. There's big holes everywhere where the two streets join. But, okay, staff?
There's nothing coming up from a city event standpoint, no. The short-term rental, though, will be on the agenda, just as a council item of your interest. And the work plan we'll bring back on the 13th agenda for your consideration. We'll start the work plan. So we'll look at what we did last year, and it probably will be a 2-meeting. We'll give you a chance to give feedback on it. Next meeting, we come back with what you give direction on.
Okay. I have a quick question for staff, too. Lucera, or whatever, the old Cabanag's building, the Mexican restaurant now, they're doing some kind of a dance or stuff at night there?
There was entertainment occurring.
What is the difference between restaurant and nighttime with entertainment?
In our code, it specifies, I want to bring that up without noticing that.
I know that,
so,
but I'm just asking if you could agendize this so that we can talk about this at the 13th meeting.
I would not be able to bring that on that meeting. There would be.
Okay, when's the next one then after the 13th?
I'll discuss that with Ms. Stearns, because in terms of what actions we're taking to ratchet that back and the hours that they were allowing to do the dancing. But right now, I probably should not be talking any further.
No,
Yeah.
I just was asking if we could get this on the future agenda, because I do want to speak about it.
It's okay.
You're right, but no, let's not do anything, especially after this full Brown meeting. And it's a special meeting at that, so, but yes.
This is the one that used to be the all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet, and now it's.
Yeah, but it's, unfortunately with the special meeting, we have to stick so close to it. So, that's it for staff? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn? Have a second? All in favor? Aye.
Well, that bully, man,